And we are live. I tease you a lot because I got you on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back. So I'm mixing a whole childhood of metaphors for those of you who are old enough to recognize it. I couldn't resist the welcome back Cotter. Many of you don't know what I'm talking about. Do you notice too? I love that. I set up my self for success today. So I set it to automatically test the audio, which is a great omen. We're into the 13th of December, 2024. I can see the end of this year approaching me at highway speeds. So I hope you guys are so far enjoying the weather, enjoying what I like to say is a little bit of a nice slowdown. I've actually never... I don't think that December is my favorite month, but in many ways it is my favorite month because January becomes, for me, like many people, the sort of rebirth period. I can just sort of wash away what happened last year and do over. But December is that sort of like slowdown period where you get a lot of creative endeavors. And a lot of my clients have decided to go ahead with projects that we've been discussing or that we're on the fence. And it's just a chance to hurry up and kind of get everything in order. And my Scorpio sensibilities enjoy that quite a bit. Today, based upon those kinds of conversations, we are going back to SkoolWP. SkoolWP is a gimmicky way for me to demonstrate what's otherwise a community solution, a social solution, where, as I've mentioned in other videos, I cut my teeth almost 20 years ago, coming over from what we used to call freemium, which is another word for nothing to lose. That they tried back in the day, 2006, 7, maybe even slightly earlier, with other companies, starting with the one I was involved with, Ning, and it just didn't work out for a lot of reasons that I'm going to go into. We finally, because like all Scorpios, I don't want to have anything but peace and love and harmony. But when somebody 20 years ago says it should be done a certain way, and I say otherwise, I feel gratification that it only took 20 years to be proven correct about a lot of the things that, you know, really were the benefits of social networking that were done improperly. They were done on a misunderstanding of human nature. And now that we've got the 20 years history and a lot of mileage on our proverbial car frames, we know better. And so with this new introduction of community features in a world where community really needs to mean something, I feel that this is a great opportunity for two types of customers that I service. Number one, those of you who are actually delivering your particular products and services for yourself. You're being very hands-on and running your site with my help, of course. But in other words, using the kit and all of these components, you've been able to go much farther, much faster. But second of all is actually the business opportunity for many of you who are successful at understanding the concepts of WordPress and the plugins, but really want to service the people who want to run their own communities. In other words, you want to provide a solution that is based upon these community features, but to be an intermediary, to be a retailer in a world where, let's say, this is delivered to you wholesale with all of the features worked out, with all of the mechanics, with all the hosting, with all of the support. And in thinking of it in those terms, and after many conversations with real paying customers, it's really clear to me that social networking community stuff done properly offers a great amount of benefit and a super easy way for somebody to understand what they're buying. Whereas when you start to use terms like sales funnels, marketing automation, membership sites, some people get it and other people's eyes glaze over. Okay. So what I found is that as an attractive lure, as well as an easy sell for the price that these things can be offered, even in a wholesaler retailer environment, like I'm going to share with you, there's money for everybody to be made by delivering a solution that really truly provides on the promises that 20 years ago were made about social networking. That is to say that you can have a community surrounding any topic you wish that can act civilly like human beings with the golden rule towards one another, because you can arrange it so that that community is in your control and ownership, not in the control and ownership of a billionaire, trillionaire, pick your choice, who decides which things gets published, which way and how. And there's no risk of you losing or your clients losing all of the benefits that you reap when it comes to operating your own social network or those of your clients. To do so at a price that is less than the cost of a SaaS solution, and yet with all of the promises of ownership and control, is a hugely beneficial thing. Can somebody who's in the audience say hello? Just so, hello, is chat working? And confirm for me the sound. I can tell that I need to adjust my camera mount. My camera mount has got a little wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Look, woo, woo, woo. My bad. Oh, good. Hello. Hi, Trish. Good morning. Okay. So let's cover a couple of these points because number one, Trish, many of you are working on things that in the past would have been done with BuddyPress, BBPress, BuddyBoss. Might have been done with custom post types, could still be done with custom post types. But Trish and I had a very interesting conversation on this week. What the promises are that have now been delivered upon using the community involve the idea that even if it's just for an iterative process, even if it's just for getting to where you want to be, this is a very fast and very effective way of getting people involved in something where you don't have to give up a lot. And the things that you had to give up a lot when we were working with BuddyPress or BuddyBoss. Number one, this involves a series of plugins through WP Manage Ninja that allow us to very cleanly and in an optimized way deliver the social network features such as private spaces, groups, even coursework if you want, chat. All of it is done through what we call a View app. That is a fancy branded type of JavaScript app that runs projected through the magic of the internet in the browser of your clients. And in doing so, it's very fast. It's very efficient compared to what we had to do when it came to BuddyBoss and BuddyPress, which was taking a publishing platform originally designed for static content, web pages, and trying to turn it into something dynamic, creating a very complex monster of stuff, which anybody who's tried to run BuddyBoss or BuddyPress knows it's a nightmare of epic proportions. We can finally say officially, adios, arrivederci, see you later. It's gone. There's not even an argument in my mind anymore about it. Ironically, I want to bring up just some news before we dive in here. So a good friend of mine, Adam Presser and Sujay, who are very well known for so many products, not the least of which are, cart flows and the Sure products and this and that. They have announced they're following suit on this idea with something called Sure Dash. But here's the difference. They're number one in alpha. Number two, they're building something that is not using a View app. Rather, it is using the traditional post types of WordPress, but there's a new efficient way of dynamically refreshing data that is, it's like a magic trick, but it allows people to have an experience where you don't have to wait for everything to click and page load. I think they'll be successful at it, but we've already demonstrated historically with my launch flows versus their cart flows. I just have my own way of doing things, and I'm betting on Team WP Manage Ninja here, Shah Jahan and the team. And I really feel, because we built this relationship years ago, it's a healthier way of doing things, because this method that I'm showing you here can be tweaked and modified, but it's, boy, so flexible. All right. So number two, the promise that I'm going to show you here is about how to run this business. Many of you are selling these things for your own purpose, right? You're running your own communities, but many of you are also intermediaries. And this allows you to very quickly, as I'll touch upon, offer a self-contained thing at a fixed price that your client can use as a base for being in a relationship with you, which means that you're empowered with my help to really open up your own store, your own shop, your own restaurant, your own kiosk, metaphorically, to sell the kinds of things that you otherwise might not have been comfortable doing in the past, because technologically it would have just been too much. And the lightweight nature of what I can deliver, I'm going to demonstrate today, can be so self-contained that there's almost zero chance of you ever getting stuck with being in the middle on something that is a technological pain in the caboose. I was going to say tushy. The idea is, if in the old days, let's say when I was doing the Ning stuff, if we had people who came in and wanted to do this for people, they could do it because the platform delivered limited set of features that they needed to understand. And once they understood that, they only needed to be, as I've said so often, one step ahead of their customers to be able to be the implementer. And that is just such a perfect metaphor for how the world has come about today. We are now in a world where every morning I wake up like giddy, like a hair standing on the back of my neck about so many new toys and things to play with, both in the WordPress space and in the real world, especially with AI. Normal people, my generation, who would have known about Welcome Back, Cotter, right? Normal people would not otherwise want to bother with this. They're smart enough to know, having been around long enough, like, I do not need to understand how to set up my own community. I want to hire that implementer, Bob or Susie or Fred or Tina or whoever from Spence's community to implement this for me, because they can be the person, kind of like Gabe Kaplan in the show. They can be the teacher that shows me what to do. And just being one step ahead of your customers is enough to deliver something that they will pay you, as we'll talk about, $97 a month and up for all of the various services. And I want you guys all to think about that, because in many of your communities, even if you are actually the leader of the pack, there will be situations, and I'll talk about that today, where your actual clients who buy your products want to have their own version of that. One of them is in retail. For example, Mother Earth Labs is one of my more successful clients this year that I work with directly. One of the things that's interesting is they have shops with their own products, but they also deal with wholesale clients. And in doing so, one of the things that we're offering is the idea of a customized bespoke shop and or a place for the customers of that shop to ask questions about the various products. So if you think about it, it's really pretty logical and obvious, even though it may not come across without being prompted, that communities offer a way to sell more products, because what you can do is offer a more personal experience with real people, the actual people using the products, sort of in a safe way, moderated by the people who are, let's say, the business owner. And if not the business owner, then the intermediary below the business owner. In other words, in the case with Mother Earth Labs, there are lots of professional nutritionists or others who are selling wholesale to their clients, their actual, patients, if you will. I think the word applies. The products that come from Mother Earth Labs, by offering them their own bespoke community and shop, we're able to deliver to them a value proposition where now they can more directly monitor and manage and improve upon the things that they do. They don't have to just get big bulk boxes and put them on a shelf in their store. They can actually have a web presence. So we'll talk some about that. All right, let's dive in. I'm going to switch to hands-on mode. There's nothing really specific about the SkoolWP I'm doing, other than it's a shout out to one of the two places that are really doing well with us. So Circle SO is the one community that does really well. This is more of a professional bent. The second one is not SkoolWP now, it's School. And this is Alex Harmozy, is one of the partners in this, and Sam Ovens. And SkoolWP, it's interesting. Their pricing is very obtuse. They just they're such marketers. They're hiding this stuff, but they're not hiding it because they're doing anything naughty. It's just, they're really doing multi-level marketing here. So this is one of those, like, get in first and we'll talk to you later. I'm not a big fan of the way they do that, but I can't deny their success. And the name School, interesting. Mighty Networks. This is what I believe is left over from Ning. Gina Bianchini, I'm pretty sure is still in charge of this. I could be wrong. You can ignore the free thing, but the plans on this, the community plan is just bare bones, like really just very little events and polls. The courses and the business are more indicative of what you would really be using. And if you go to the monthly, you see here 119 to 219, 360. So as I mentioned last week, the community services you can offer at $97 to $194 a month are very competitive. And especially when you think about how many more things you can do, because first of all, Mighty Networks has no marketing automation. Circle's even more money, 89, 199, 360. But when you go for marketing automation, the sky starts raining, $900 a month. Even in the lower numbers, it's significantly more money on top. So you have a competitive edge, even when you're including just the basic features we're going to talk about. But remember, this provides the platform that you could turn on any number of the other high-end features, which open you up to all of the things that somebody can do with the Salesforce or HubSpot or even the best of the sales funnel plugins. All right. What I want to show you is, let's start out with the basics, because I'm not going to do full setup, but I want to feature a couple of things. First of all, the thing that was not originally the way to get to the portal has been improved. So if we took the original concept, this is using the Fluent community, and we just displayed it, it does a nice job. But one of the things that was, fixed since last time we did SkoolWP was, you'll notice in the top menu, there's a little teeny tiny cutie kind of little logo. I can't even see it. It's so cute. It's kind of ridiculously small because of the setup of this navigation. Then there's your primary navigation, and then there's your, I call it an action menu. Wouldn't it be a great idea if there was just an easy way, and now there is, to just simply display your community inside of the website with or without the banner? So it looks and feels exactly like you're working within your normal store, right? Like, oh, look, I'm doing all the other normal stuff. And then when I go to the community, I can go to either the community in general or a specific page. Let's jazz this up a bit, because I don't really need this extra logo, and maybe I don't want the navigation the way that this is. So one of the things we can do to start with is, if we go in the dashboard, there's a new plugin that's included in your Minute Launch Kit called the Fluent Community Customizer, written by this guy, Spence. And it's complementary to all the other things that happen with Launch Kit as well as launch flows. So one of the things we do here is we can set up either inside our own portal, or we can actually, this is an amazing, awesome, fun thing. We could take a third-party portal and display it as well. So this is perfect if you have relationships with partners, affiliates, students. So for example, in years past, in office hours past, I have shown you that I had a test portal over here at this other URL. It may be a little hard for you to see the URLs, but this is at, if I haven't broken it, let's say, maybe I've broken it. Okay. Obviously it's redirecting itself into itself, but there's another portal. If I wanted to, I could take that portal and show it inside of this website. Super cool. Like, in other words, your partners, if you're in a franchisor, your franchisees could all have the central home office portals or spaces or whatever just easily displayed on their site, which to me is a great business opportunity. We also created a way to quickly create a new portal page if you don't want to use one that I did. I just made this, and as soon as you make it, it presents itself and it's available to navigate to. You just tell it which portal to display on that page. But the navigation menu stuff here, I have the left and the center and the right menus. I'm just going to hide that little left doodad. I don't need that one. And let's say the center menu, I'm going to move over. Let's do it like this. Let's move the right menu to the left, and we'll move the center menu to the right. And we can turn off the banner if we don't want to use that. I also added ability to customize with CSS, because even though this is hard to conceive, even though there are tools for WYSIWYG, the benefit, I got to get real with you guys here. Hold on. The benefit of using this JavaScript app, this Vue app, is it's all being created like a super optimized package and being delivered to the browser. But the problem of that is that you can't do the normal stuff, like when you load a WordPress page that says what kind of style sheets apply or what kind of JavaScript run. You have to package that and send it over with the other stuff to the browser of the client. And so that's why for some of these things, I've started to add tools, like customizing tools, and I'll add a redirection tool for the navigation menus as well, so that somebody can actually interact with the My Community app just like it was a regular page, or at least for most purposes. Okay, so when we save these changes, one of the things that jazzes up here is we'll get rid of the banner. Notice now my navigation, if I even want to show it, is on the right side, and kind of more aligns with my own sensibilities. You can even hide this though and put the stuff up here. And then the drop down menu stuff's on the left. Okay. Next is that when I'm using the Fluent Community Customizer, all of the stuff that I want to do is controllable, but the licensing and all the other stuff is managed just for FYI purposes through the Launch Kit. So Launch Kit, we had some updates, and I'm definitely going to improve the interface. But just for those of you who are curious Georges, when you go to Launch Kit, you can always use your own licenses for anything. But because of the fact that we're delivering it and curating it, why would you want to do that? You're in a relationship where we're delivering the software and the updates and the personal support. But you want to be aware that if you go to features, and again, I'm restructuring this menu now because this was a legacy of having to futz around with some of the politics of WordPress. Once we go to the new feature license, this is where you can override any of the included licensing and, getting rid of all of the manager features that tell you to put a license in. You can always go and override it. So if you have a client and they've got their own license, just put the license in and it will use your license so that in the future you could get support. The site's legit. But as long as you're working with me and I'm giving you your support, you don't need that. And also notice that for some of you who haven't used this feature, the hidden notices is a gem because that prevents what you see that just flashed there. But if we go to like this other page, the plugins, when that's open, it's like, whoa, Billboard has been spray painted by the whole kids. Sometimes you need to use that. So that's why I put that red circle there to remind you visually, like maybe you do want to check in and see that everything is up to date. But in the meantime, it's a much nicer experience without it. All right. So let's talk about some of the stuff. Now, one of the biggest benefits of doing a community is conceptually, somebody can have one or more public or private spaces to display content that the public can read or not read, that private individuals who have been registered and paid could access. So just let's start with the bigger concept. Number one concept is you can decide that you want community space that's public to read. And the settings on this are really quite easy because if we go in the background, we have two places we can do this. We can go into the Fluent Community itself, which has the navigation set up on the back. And this is a work in progress, I am told. Number one, like the portal settings themselves. This is where you can set the various teeny tiny cutie logos. You can also set the name, open graph images. Now this is fun too. You can also have global posts status form. I like this because otherwise what happens is like if somebody just goes to that activity feed and starts, what's happening, Spence? You have to be very specific which one to put it into. But if you have a global one, hey, I'm live. You can just literally go ahead and post into a global stream, which is terrific for public view. If you, let's say, agree that you want to share this stuff publicly. So just the concept being, instead of, specifying it has to go into membership space, I'll just post this into my profile, for example. You can go into a public one. Now, what's interesting to me here is that I think I have to set the setting. You can also adjust the access settings. And this is important. If you are going to do anything that is visual, hi, Joe. If you're going to do anything that's visual for the general public, in other words, like if you want to have something like Facebook groups where somebody can come along and even though they haven't joined the group, read it, you're going to want to make sure that the portal access settings are set to everyone. Otherwise, only people who have registered and logged into your site will see it. But the way I show you how to do things, you don't want everybody to just register and log in unless they've gone through either a form to join your newsletter list or bought something. Okay. So in general, think of it like this. You have layers like a Matryoshka doll, the doll and a doll and a doll. Each layer has to have the transparency necessary to allow the other stuff to display if you let it. If the outer layer is set to you can't come in here, well, nothing you do inside will ever work because it's all going to be private. So the outer layer is I set to everyone. You also have this redirect URL if you wanted to. This is, I had to read it for a second. This is set up if you had chosen to only use logged in users, or I would never use roles for any reason here, but this is an old school leftover. There may be some use for this I haven't thought of, but I prefer to use tags for access. But let's say we just use logged in users or not. This other option would have been useful to redirect to somebody there for login and sign up. Since we're using WooCommerce, we're going to send them to the My Account area. Okay. So we're essentially, what I'm suggesting here is we want the portal and everything you access in your dashboard to go through the one dashboard, which is already available to us through the My Account capabilities of WooCommerce. And the other benefit of that, as I've shown you a trillion times, is that I can stylize this through all the other tools that I've already got available. So for example, if I go over here to Appearance, Customize, Cadence has already provided me this wonderful built-in capacity to customize the WooCommerce stuff, including the My Account layout. So look, if I go here and I'm super not happy about the right-hand navigation, I can just switch that over, be done with it. As you'll see in a second, if I'm super unhappy with the fact that Spence has put in the short codes for his customize this page with short codes, I can just fix that. And so in doing this, I feel that it's better if we limit ourselves to using one dashboard, even though technically there's all these other dashboards one can have, essentially through the means and the mechanism of using, let's say, the community plugin, or you could have the other features of Fluent other products like the bookings plugin and the tickets. I think that you should, for all your customers, use the My Account area as the central dashboard. And when I refresh the page, you'll see what I mean. So now I've got this really tight continuity. The My Account area, all the login stuff of the My Account area become useful for the community as well. And that's why I don't, even though I have it, I don't want to use their custom login page. Is it available? Yes. Do I want to use it? No. This is interesting too. If you were to use the login page or the customized one, you can also customize that with some branding and other things, which is really nice that they put the feature in here. This is kind of what it looks like. Again, this would work fine if you wanted strangers off the street to just register for your community. I'm showing you, as I'll do in a second, I want you to use a Fluent form that is part of our sales funnel and our marketing automation to allow people to register for free. It will end up in the same spot. But what I'm suggesting to you is that, let's say you have a drawer full of spoons. Many of us do. I got big spoon, little spoon, spoon with a hole in it, spoon with a point, spoon with a spork. Okay. How much cognitive energy does it take to figure out which spoon to use for which thing, right? Throw them all away. Use one spoon in different ways that Spence shows you. Similarly, if you use the one My Account, the one registration for free method of forms that puts people in and uses, here's Spence's tags, you cognitively have less to manage, less to be in charge of, less to be an expert for, and your clients will appreciate that as well. So yes, it is true that they have all these really amazing extra features. Do not use them in my world, because it's just adding more things for you to work out the gotchas. Okay. By the way, I think the reason that my thing may not have applied was because I didn't click save settings, but with a global post status, that should be essentially available to everybody. The other things here that are really neat while I'm on them, while we're in the portal settings, you can essentially enable and disable certain things like page headers, dark mode, powered by text. You know, if you want to make this all white label, absolutely turn on rich post media. That means embedding stuff. Post titles, optional, required, disabled. I personally think they're annoying. If you disable them, then you don't have to type every time you want to say something. You could just say stuff, right? What's happening? Stuff. Okay. Much, much easier. Let's see if this posts globally too. Still not happy, but I think that's just because I've only got a In this example, I haven't set up a public space yet. Let's just go through a couple of these other ones. This has been asked of me many times. Can I have managers who do certain things? Yes, much like the WooCommerce can have a shop manager, you can set up specific things for people, all access, spaces, courses, course creator. And this is pretty useful because you can choose from whoever is in here. Bruce Springsteen is very responsible. He's now a space moderator. And that means that he'll be able to see certain things that other people will not, and also have the controls over certain things that he would not. Pretty simple. Email. This is something that we're going to talk about in another episode, but you're still using under the hood the Fluent CRM features. That's what I love about using the stuff from WP Managed Ninjas. It is truly a separate framework that works with WordPress. You can use this for sending all your emails, but most of the stuff that we're going to do is going to be centralized through the normal automations, through the normal Fluent CRM. Again, like I just described, sure, we can have our own login form customized through here, but we've already got it elsewhere. Sure, we can do custom emails through here, but we can already do that through Fluent CRM in the same site. Let's keep one spoon, one fork, one knife. Here's more features. I love these because these are almost all useful. Leaderboards, maybe not. Maybe not. Badges, sure. Gamification. Courses, maybe, if you want to do simplified stuff. Giphy emoji, had me at hello. Media module, right? So you can store your stuff locally, or you can open up an Amazon SES account or something and store it remotely, which is really efficient as well. Less you store on this WordPress server, the less you have to pack up every time you want to back up. Oh, I just made a good metaphor. Every time you pack up when you want to back up. Okay. The chat, we're going to install. This is something that is a little, really a diamond in the rough. This chat feature by itself is worth the price, because let's say you have a membership site that you are otherwise saying to people, look, if you buy my course, we'll support you. Or you've got Spence and his team who want to give you all kinds of tidbits, like we're going to have in Spence List. The chat is a really interesting way for you to extend the ability for individuals to share stuff with each other or share with them. Be careful what you promise, but share with them in a direct way that is a little more intimate, a little more, immediate than email, but still within the confines of a private space that people can feel a little more safe than if they were to, what happens, post into Facebook or X or anything else. Even Blue Sky with its, I loving Blue Sky's mindset. Even now, once you post publicly, it's public. This allows for private chatting. You'll notice the CRM, the forums, SMTP, and the support are all available to us as well to sort of intertwine. So if, let's say, you are selling a product or service and somebody wants to reach you on the chat in the community, you could take them away over into the ticket system. You could move their project into the Kanban board to keep track of what you're doing for them. You could send them some extra documents or have them fill out an extra form. All of these things being intertwined, it's like Rip Van Winkle. I've gone away, fell asleep under a tree, 20 years later, woken up, and all of the stuff that we were doing back at Widget Laboratory on the Ning days is now possible, but we have a benevolent scenario. Everybody, including you, owns and controls this, and nobody can take it away or have their lawyers try to take it away from you, like all those naughty behaviors of the years past. If we look at topics, I don't use those that much. These are like one level of Matryoshka doll, somewhere between like your courses and your topics and your lessons. Useful for some. I would say these would be useful for like, hey, let's talk about something, like Linda Richmond. The progressive era was neither progressive nor an era. Discuss. Okay, so I've now got a topic, which, to be quite honest, it could go in any space I want. Let's create a new group to talk about this. Now, what's interesting is I'm able to have somebody talk about something, maybe Friday's office hours, This is much like in the Buddy Press, BB Press world. This would be like if you had a BB Press forum, this would be like a topic. And then people can go chit chat in a way that quite honestly is very easy to keep track of. You could come back to that topic again and again and again. Let's see if that shows up right away too. I think we have to put this into the net. We'll come to this. We have to put this in a way that would be more direct, but it would be somewhere inside of here to do our navigation. We'll come back to that in the end. Let's just finish these other options that are available. So now you've got spaces, groups, right? So this is why I think we didn't show anything automatically posting. You probably want to create a brand new public space if you want to do something that the people can read when they're just driving by your spot, you know. So public space, stuff for the public to view. And let's see if that, by the way, solves my original problem. I, by the way, plead guilty to, I do not have answers to everything in here because they keep updating it every day and I keep building stuff for this. So like, I'm enjoying this as much as you are. Like, what's under the tree? It's the 7th day of Hanukkah or the first day of Christmas. It's like every day is a surprise. And that's that, right? So if I were to do something here, maybe now, blah, 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 I don't have to choose. Oh, interesting. Maybe I have to join the space. I don't know. We'll find out. Here's membership space. Let's see if I can finish the job. We'll see. Okay, menu settings. This is the part that I liberate you from to a certain degree. I feel that many of these things can be simplified and streamlined or hidden and so forth. But what I've given you is a little more flexibility with the community customizer to decide that you don't necessarily need all of these things. One of the features that I'm going to implement this weekend is right now, if you were navigating, let's say outside of the community and you wanted to go right to, let's say one of the tabs, right now, it doesn't have the capability to put you inside of the portal. Right now, I just didn't need that. I just assumed people would use their navigation. So if you navigate to like a submenu, it's going to put you in that portal. That's obviously not ideal. So what I'm going to end up doing is something this weekend that'll make it where if you wanted to, let's say, go to the members stuff, see how it navigates now just fine. We can use this level of navigation outside. That's going to be one of the things that'll come from that. And then privacy. Who can view the pages of your own profile, leaderboards? I mean, there's really nice granular stuff here. If you do have courses, you can manage the courses from here. And then we can go back and see what those other options are that are available to us. These are all essentially direct links to some of those other things, you see. So it's nice that they're doing a graphical interface, but don't be fooled. This is just going to those various settings, even here where you can set the new portal slug if you wanted to change it. This goes right to managing any courses you have. All right. So now let's work on the front a little bit because I want to talk about how I would introduce this to my clients. One of the things that I feel this really delivers is, let's say, for example, if we go to our spaces, new space, you can choose a discussion space or a course space. I'm still on the fence about the courses. I feel that they offer a great opportunity for managing content that you otherwise feel would not be requiring the complexity or capabilities of LearnDash. Because we already have LearnDash on board. It's already built into our whole processes. Even if you're doing a simple course in LearnDash, it just takes 2 seconds to set it up, and then you've got all the benefits of marketing automation. But I do see there is a value in the community space course stuff because it's just such a quick container to make that if you wanted to sell something, I can envision for your clientele, and Anne can speak to this. I'm going to show you price-wise how you can bundle and sell this where the features you use are only the ones in here, and we don't want to use LearnDash. So let's, for this situation, make a public course, right? Public course. course. It's a course for the public, of course. We want to set the privacy to public. We can put in any menu group we wish. Let's put it in the public space menu. Enrollment. They've got some good stuff here. Self-paced, structured, or scheduled. Self-paced means you can just let anybody do what they want. That's always my favorite. I never understood drip content. Drip content, structured, is useful if you wanted to give somebody certain things that drip relative to the date they started. Started January 1st, a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Or you can do scheduled, which is, it doesn't matter when you started. On February 12th, this thing comes out. On March 17th, this thing comes out. Let's do self-paced. Published or not. And then we have customizations, right? So you can get rid of comments. You can hide student counts if you want. That's a great option. Like, do you want the public to be able to see the comments or not? And you can add a thumbnail and so forth, right? So let's just see if I have something useful here. I'll just use this one. Okay, so now I've got a course. And again, I'm not going to go into detail making the course, but this is where you could just add a title, something, and add some lessons below it. Lesson 1. And then you can do stuff like, I think this is awesome. You can put a Wistia video, YouTube video. They've made it very easy to just get going. So it's fast. And I could just literally take this video from today. I think, if I can get the copy paste to work. Right? So here's today's thing. I'm just doing like, it's a course, but I'm really just using the course as a metaphor to organize some stuff. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to publish it. And so now if we go back to my community, this is where I see the problem with the reason that other thing didn't show up is because I was in draft mode. All right. So let's edit. Let's publish. One of the things I'm a little unclear about here is why did that not publish? I know I chose published, and for some reason it didn't save it. Maybe because it has the second button up here, which keeps throwing me off. I'm not saying that's wrong. I get annoyed by that. I see that in WooCommerce. When you make a product, you got to save the variations down here, and then you have to know to click up here. I think this idea of multiple buttons, form embedded in a form, is frustrating to me. I'm frustrated. Help me. Okay. Let's see if we have better luck here. If we go to the new group course, you can enroll in the course, right? The feed itself should be in the space. Let's see. I don't see the conversation bit of this because I made, oh, I know, because I made it a course. Hello. So let me distinguish. What I did here was I made a new group and I put a lesson in it. Remember at the beginning, I had a choice. I could also do a discussion. Now let's see something, because I'm not really sure if we can do that. If I go to this public space, I think I'm committed in this case to the fact that it's a course. I think I have to make a new thing to add in the discussion. So let's try to do that. If I go into the space, public space, here's a public course. Let's see if I added it here or not. This is group. No, this is just the group. So let's just go ahead and go back a step. And this is inside of the new space, a new group course. Okay, so the topic's in the course. So I think I'm guessing here, we're just going to add it in separate. So if we go back to my community, new space, let's add a discussion space and associate it to that same group. So maybe we'll see both. So public discussion. Let's talk. And again, we'll make this public. Allow people to join this. Yes and no. I'm going to say no because I want people only to join because they've joined through one of the forums or other product purchases. Let's put it in that group, which is public space group. Who can view it? We're going to say anyone because we want it to be public. We want people to drive by, pick what they want. Featured image, if we wanted to put it in there, we can do that. I don't know if that's going to be like really crazy along the top. I think that's what it is, but we'll find out. I think this is the banner here, actually. So forgive me for not being more aware, like Spence, why don't you know this? Well, as I mentioned, you can, by the way, you saw the timeline can be displayed different. I'm still playing with their new features every day they update. So this is literally just this 2 days ago, maybe they updated this. So now I've got the public discussion. And what's useful for this is that this will have, I believe, its own URL, right? So if we note that the slug here is public discussion, I'm quite sure if we copy this link, this was asked of me by Trish, if you're there, can you guys see that URL? See where it says portal space, public discussion, home. We do have the ability to directly navigate people to where we want to go, which means that if we hid the other stuff, we could directly send them to the stuff we want them to see. And if then we further hid the navigation to the stuff we don't want them to see, kind of see where I'm going here, right? So for example, I'm not going to get funky with you, but just imagine, because that's one of the controls that I can put in here with my capabilities to further refine what's being offered by Fluent. Let's say, for example, Uncle Spence says, we're going to add to the Fluent customizer to hide selectively the sidebar on stuff we don't want to show, right? Because I can inject that CSS directly, obviously we'd want to make the space fill in. We can selectively hide all the other stuff. You follow me? And this is something that reminds me very much of what we did in the Ning days, because all of our gimmicks back then were just the same concept. We didn't own the platform. We had to send the stuff through an API or through the browser to get stuff done. And welcome back, Kata. So what I'm suggesting to you is that we've got some real possibilities here where, let's imagine, and again, I'm referring to something I talked about with Trish. Let's say you've got a bigger idea, bigger plan. We can iterate by getting people in, set up their profile, start talking about it. They can even take some of your sample courses, or they can buy stuff. But now we've got a private thing or a public thing where people can see some or all of the content and get excited. And then you could put in a call to action. I wonder how you do that. Well, one way is obviously to publish it in line. And they also, by the way, they do have a feature in here with banners, which is pretty cool. So for example, depending on where you're at, you can put in like a sales banner. But I already showed you that the Fluent Community Customizer has the capability of putting in conditional banners created with cadence. So instead of just putting in the Tom, Dick, and Harry banner here, we could actually go into appearance cadence. We would enable the ability for us to create custom banners using we're going to use hooked elements. That sounds like Starsky and Hutch. We brought in some hooked elements. We're going to make a banner of some kind here. It doesn't have to be fancy. So we're going to call this content section. A call to action. I would just do something simple like, let's put a row in. And then inside the row, I can put some text, right? Heading. Hey, buy my thing. I could do buttons too. Click to buy. Okay, and the styling of this is really super easy because we're working with cadence. And I can also style like I would tell you in any normal row. I can style the background, right? Let's make it blue, and let's make the font white so it stands out. And then we can also ensure that the container and everything else about this doesn't go too big. So we'll say inherent maximize. And then this button, obviously we can set the styling. Let's use the outline style, and let's turn the color so it stands out to be white. Let's do it the other way around. Make the font red. Okay. When we save this and publish this, I didn't have it go anywhere, but let's just take this. We can essentially tell it where should this show up. We go over here to this link here, and we can say placement. Okay, we're going to say it's not going to be placed anywhere because we're going to use the short code, but theoretically you could hook it in. Display settings, show on entire site. Who can see it? Everybody. You can conditionally show this. You can also conditionally show this, by the way, using marketing automation. Does somebody have a tag? So we can say this banner only shows on a certain URL. Ta-da. That's kind of useful too. So if we said here like shows on instead of entire site, look, we can do singular pages or archive pages. We can do it custom post types here. So we got a lot of control, but let me just show you the basic thing of a banner, because this is how we can make it that you could, let's say, use this community to iterate, get something out really fast. How do I save that? There we go. And yet move people into something else with your marketing automation, which is to say, get them to sign up for your list, get them telling you what they think the product should be. All right. So I take the short code and I go back over here to the Fluent Community Customizer. And I'm just going to put that embedded into here. Could not be easier, right? Let's make sure when you do that, you do Control-Shift-V so that it just literally doesn't have any of that styling. Let's even do it in the text editor, okay? That'll ensure that it properly executes. And let's take a look here. We have to check the checkbox to display it as well. I'm going to close a couple windows and refresh. All right. Notice the padding is unnecessary. So let's do 0 padding because we don't need the background color. I could obviously just turn that off, but let's just say, okay. So imagine a situation, back to my metaphor. If we were in this public space or whatever it may be, public discussion, and I had the ability in any page with the customizer to hide any nav elements and to have a sales thing, we've got a natural, beautiful way to show people what's going to be involved if they join, and yet they still can click to get in. And this kind of thing will probably in the customizer be available to hook into lots of other places, like maybe just put it instead of the change cover, or maybe put it instead of, the top space here. I have the ability to put it anywhere and everywhere. That was what I learned from all of those years of having to deal with like an external platform that we navigated to. And I probably not today will share with the community all my original videos of Spence, the evil genius, with the video browser. Because we had some farcical tale. My partner was a Serbian fella, and we made up a tale about the evil genius and the mad scientist in the castle at Bratislava. Now it's just Spence, but it's still really, to me, fascinating and wonderful that we can build this stuff. All right. Last but not least, if we go back to the basic concept besides this of what you're selling, there's 2 ways to get people in. There always have been, always will be. Number 1, a free form registers and logs them in and gives them the tag to go to the community. Number 2 is paying for it. Let's do number 2 first. With number 2, you can set up a one-time subscription access or a regular subscription access. Like you buy it once you're in, you buy it for a month. Doesn't matter. When we set it up, all we need to do is either give them a tag or we recognize that they have bought it. With the WooCommerce subscription product, all the money is going through the same transactional engine into the same bank account. We can look at it Metoric. We have everything going through one system. This is the point. Pay attention, kids. We don't want to have 50 different cash register systems. We don't want to have 7 spoons or 4 knives or 10 forks. We want one transactional engine that all the people go through, because if we do it this way, everything later will be easier. You won't have to be like, oh, you're a PayPal member. Oh, you bought this through the Stripe Direct Connect to the Fluent Forms. No, it all goes through this method. So with WP Fusion, we can give somebody a tag, can access community. We also know that they bought the subscription, but the subscription manages itself. What do we do to get them into the community for the private stuff? Simple. We go over to our Fluent CRM and we have a simple automation that manages this. And we could create this. I've done this before, but let's just create one from scratch now. The trigger to get somebody in, let's do it from scratch, is add subscriber to my community, my paid community, but whatever, my community. This is just a note to me. Okay. One trigger would be the tag applied. Another trigger, you'll notice, could be just WooCommerce if they actually subscribed to that specific thing. This is really pretty sweet. Spence, which one should I use? I always default to using tags. If I use tags for everything, then everything has tags, and I can always use tags from now until the end of time. I'm seduced by the lure of the siren of WooCommerce saying, please pick me, subscription activated. But the problem is, if I do that, I can't do stuff with this in other methods, PHP or WP Fusion or whatever. If I use the tag method, I can. So I won't fault you if you use it. It's very seductive, but I'm going to go tag applied. I'm coming up with these crazy metaphors because it's coffee time. The tag would be can access community, right? And you can restart this as many times as you wish, and you can use it for people even if they don't want to be on your mailing list. And then the next action that happens, I remember there was a time when I did this webinar and they had changed the interface, left me hanging. Here, I'm pretty sure they've got it in here. Here it is, the community actions. Okay, add to space, change your status, remove from space, remove courses, enroll to courses, add a badge. We're going to add them to that space that we just created, right? Membership space, communities. So now we've got this way of onboarding somebody. They pay you, go through your custom sales funnel, get offered all of the things that you want them to see, get the tags along the way. And one of the benefits is that they're added to the space. Now, the spaces have this conditional approval waiting area. You can even go farther and say, you buy this one, you're in. So you can see here, change space member status. I can also say, I'm going to change them from pending or blocked to active. As easy as that, right? So there's lots of cool things. And then you can end this here. End this funnel here. Okay. Be sure when you're using these automations that you turn them on, right? So next, how could I do it with a form? Well, a form is very simple as well, because all we're doing is essentially using a different input method. So with the forms, if I use Fluent Forms here or the Fluent CRM forms, doesn't matter. I like to use Fluent Forms because I have a little more control. And see where we've got user registration and login. Let's just hijack that one because it's already been set up. We've got the same concept here, except in the integration, after they give us their first name, last name, and email, we're going to go ahead and make sure they're added to the CRM with this feed. And this feed can be either a WP Fusion feed or it can be a Fluent CRM feed. Same concept. I don't think there's as big of a difference, but if you kept the same Spence concept here, you could use the Fluent CRM field instead, just so you're consistent. You add the person to the main list. We want to apply the tag, can access community. Even though we're not taking money, we're essentially going to say, look, here's the deal. We're going to map your email. We're going to put you in. You're going to get registered. You're going to get logged in. We're going to know your first name, your last name, your email. I'm just mapping all of these. And when you come in, you're going to get the tag can access community as well. And there's conditional logic if you want. I wouldn't use both feeds at the same time. So I would disable the other one. So in this case, you could just disable it. With this particular feed, we also have the option of doing a user registration and login. I would definitely do that because you want the person not just to get the tag, you want them to submit the form, registered, logged in, and they can access the community. So the automation is the very same automation. You don't even have to change it because since I'm using the tag method, hello, I just proved my point. One tag can access community is what's the trigger for enrolling you and giving you approval. If we did the WooCommerce one, good morning. Hey, Kurt. It's mañana nomás, my friend Kurt, checking in from the Sandhill Brewing Company for the breakfast buffet on Friday. So what you end up with here is a situation where that one tag method proves itself out. All right. The takeaway, I want to show you one last secret surprise. So I had a very successful Black Friday of being a non-conformist, which is my middle name. I promised to you what I was going to do, and I'm going to show it to you here, is I'm updating the WP Launchify selling method and also the tools because I've added these features to the Launch Flows plugin. So it's available for all of you. It's called Product Toggles. And what I've been doing for all these 24 months is I've been selling people who come to me for free by using this really neat navigation system that I built using just the same tools in LaunchKit. This is Cadence, Launch Flows, WooCommerce, marketing automation. The downside of this was that when you added stuff, I knew it took you directly to the checkout. So if you picked a bundle, it's still, I mean, this has worked brilliantly. It took me right to checkout, ready to buy. Notice this new feature here, return to previous page. I've added that into the kit. What I wanted is a better granular experience. So what about the idea if I just take my products and I can still let people, go and check out what's the details of a product with a modal window or whatever else I want to do. But what if I just gave them the ability to build their own bundle? So at Black Friday, I officially decoupled all my products. And now you can buy, for example, the Launch Kit, Minute Launch Software Kit is the new name. You can just get that a la carte, $47 a month. Notice, and let's just empty this. Notice that when I do this, I can a la carte build whatever I want. So I've had many people now who have said, all right, I'll tell you what, I'll do the software kit for $47, but I know I need to speak to you, Spence. So I'm going to do the unlimited email support. Okay. Instead of doing the hosting, I don't need the hosting. I got it anyways through Rocket. I'm only paying you for these two things. Wait a second. You know what? I want to save some money. So I'm going to do the hands-on support. No, let's do the unlimited email support. Let's do this for the year. WooCommerce updated their subscriptions capability in the last version. So now this allows me to give to you the ability to not only choose what you want, but you can dynamically go up and down on your own subscriptions at any time, and it will automatically prorate it. Similarly, for those people who are interested and want to be implementers, I've created a system with my Rocket partnership where I can launch somebody or give you the capacity to launch somebody your own Rocket.net hosting. So if you did want to add it in, you can essentially build back the capabilities that you need. So for example, here I've got this unusual mix. I've got monthly launch flow software. I've got once a year discounted unlimited email support. And then I've got monthly hosting. So this has been a really great way also with these toggles for me to give a new capability where I'm in a phone call or you're on your own and you can build your own thing. And then when you send it to the checkout, everything that applies thereafter uses the same logic. So imagine applying this to your software community and offering it as a ready-to-go package. This is the kind of crazy shit that I dreamed about 20 years ago and couldn't do except if we wrote our own software through an API. And now you can see that I can deliver unbelievable platform sales funnel, crazy marketing automation stuff. But here's the gist. Thank you, by the way, Trish. Here's the gist. You own it. You control it. You take it with you. Finally, I can't help but comment. We recently had a lot of drama in the WordPress space with Mr. Mullenweg going off on a windmill tilting adventure. The court came down and decided 100%, I'm going to be nice about it, 100% against him. The result of that, though, is we have two things that have come from this. Number one, it is demonstrated so clearly, again, I cannot believe this, 20 years later. My drama with Ning and Mark Andreessen and Gina Bianchini was because they acted in a way that showed a disrespect for human relationships and for promises and for being honest and truthful. And in doing so, I ended up publishing all of the internal emails that demonstrated the facts. This is like a crazy deja vu that I see this happening again for other people 20 years later. But I'm smart enough to recognize, at least in my own mind, I'm smart enough, that what I can do for you is now I can deliver for you all the benefits of a hosted platform, but with all the ownership and control. And from a selling standpoint, this is a really big deal. I can give you a way to use the very same thing that I'm demonstrating here. You can take the wholesale solutions that I've provided, all the mechanicals, all the hard stuff, the launch kit, software updater, which I'm not going to go into now, but like I showed you earlier, that gives you a vehicle, white label for delivering all this stuff to your clients. I can give you a platform built from the best curated stuff that you or your clients own and control, and yet you can still have the same capability. I have like a dystonia in my voice today, I think. me. You can still have all of those things that 20 years ago would have cost $100 million, literally, from loud cloud to repurpose. You can have them for $97 a month. Add your $97 a month on top of it. You get $20 from me for every $97 like bundled kit. So you get $97 for being the implementer plus $20 from me. So I get $77, you get $117. That's over $300 a year per person, if I'm doing my math correctly. Okay. You've got a situation where even if you don't do anything other than just be somebody who knows how to use this stuff, you could make technically more than I do on each new customer sign up. But the best part about it is that when people do that, they always end up going for more hands-on support, because what I am selling is a relationship. I'm not really selling software. When people come to me, they end up getting the kit, the full 97, as they would for you to be their intermediary, to just do the stuff. Like I have a house, I don't get on a ladder to clean the gutter or cut my grass. I could, but I don't. I pay somebody. Doesn't mean that just because Spence gives you the stuff wholesale, you can't retail it. But they always end up asking for hands-on support, because this is how, for an hour or for a sprint or for a whole month, they can get like the expertise to finish whatever object they have, which is usually the end result. So let's say on the community, what I'm saying to you is offering the basic community for less than those platforms we started with, less than Mighty Networks, less than Circle, less than School, but with all these capabilities built in and you being the intermediary, there is room for me to be your partner, give you the wholesale everything, you sell it. And even if you want to have a meeting, which has happened quite honestly, we have a meeting and I become your expert. You look like a genius to your, like Kurt says, your money hungry doctor clients. The point is, if you have a community of people who need the expertise about the platform and the mechanics, I'm there for you. Because in those cases, I would be willing, if you had a big enough audience, to go from like a $20 affiliate thing to just a full 50-50 joint venture, which has been a very successful tool. So the end result of all of this, and I'll wrap it up, is I am really excited about this concept. And don't get hung up. I'm not going to call it SkoolWP. This is just, I'm using it as a metaphor. This is the launch kit solution that is now actually is called Minute Launch, because I want to get rid of launch kit by itself and just have it be called Minute Launch. So you're going to see this go away today in favor of this. And then you'll see the details of this ferreted out with some other cool stuff. But the idea is I want to have it where anybody can a la carte for themselves or their clients or for a larger white label purpose, the kind of solution that we can get people excited again about, you know what? Human beings have so much they can share for free or sale that can be in a protected community where people act civilly and they're not doxxed or outed or criticized or anything other than for the words and the things that they do for others. And that applies to Mullenweg and the rest of them. I think that we just have to learn as human beings through exposure in public what works and doesn't. I am shocked that there are people with unlimited resources that have not learned that lesson, but maybe that is the problem. Maybe you have to live in the real world for long enough to see that people are people and that they deserve the same level of respect and golden rule stuff, no matter who they are. And I think that's what I want to leave you guys with. My purpose on this planet seems to be to help a lot of people solving complex problems. I may not be the guy you expect, and I may not tell you what you want to hear, but I'm willing to stand up to 20 years of public scrutiny that everything I've ever said is consistent, and everything I've ever been wrong about, I've admitted to and publicly praised the people who've shown me that, because that's the only way I think I can advance as a human being or a spiritual being on this planet and elsewhere. I know I sound very new agey, but many of you are tuned into the world as it is. And I just want to say, I'm a capitalist, always have been. But I think there's a lot of evidence that we're going to be doing new capitalistic things in a new way, not without some changes to the status quo, but I, for one, am ready for it. I hope you are as well. It's exciting times. I'll see you guys next week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. By the way, I'm not retiring. I'm going to do next week's show. I won't do the last week of December, but I am going to do next week. See you then.